We're not a bunch of campaigning greenies, but in our own way, we're still radical, genuinely radical, and we're totally practical. There's a major problem with today's green agenda, with the conservation environmental movement in general. It's lost its way. It's become extremely disappointing, having frequently focused on what's superficial, often suggesting things that won't actually deliver the necessary results. To be blunt, most activists seem to be either blind or stupid, failing to spot what's really causing the problems. Or else they're keeping quiet out of cowardice, unwilling to be honest. Many are acting like sheep, wanting to fit in, demonstrating psychological immaturity and poor thinking skills. They're commonly inept. As a director of an environmental organisation myself, the current state of green affairs is embarrassing. It's all down to social conditioning. Monkey do what monkey see. And we've got our resident chimps here as a reminder of this. In this short series of 6 films, we'll be taking a deeper approach to nature conservation, asking what will it take to make a genuine and significant difference. We'll cover a range of topics that are absolutely important, the ones which, unfortunately, have usually been overlooked. Let's quickly go through these so you'll have a bit of an idea of what's ahead, what we'll be covering. Human overpopulation is a huge problem for nature and the environment. It all boils down to numbers. The needs and wants of 8 billion people add up to a massive pressure on our planet's natural habitats and resources, negatively affecting the countless species which are dependent on them. So that'll be the subject of this, our first film. In film number 2, we'll be looking at national parks and other nature reserves, crucial safe havens for so many wild animals and plants, plus the all-important habitats. I'm outdoors for that one, starting off at Yellowstone in America, which was the world's first national park to be declared. Next, I'm at the amazing Grand Canyon. Then we'll be asking honest and probing questions specifically about our own Lake District National Park, the biggest and best in England. Finally, I'm at Kruger National Park, South Africa, home to some of the greatest wildlife on our planet, where we'll be challenging the very idea of national parks and other nature reserves, asking if they're actually a flawed concept. Film number 3 will tackle head-on another topic that's commonly ignored. We'll be asking, who can you trust? First, there's a lot of confusion between myth and reality, something that urgently needs sorting out if there's to be genuine progress. Then there's the sticky matter of charity ineffectiveness and inefficiency, as well as those flag-flying international conferences which are little more than expensive talking shops. In film number 4, we'll be challenging more bullshit. Whether it's tokenism, fashionable solutions, or believing that protests actually achieve anything. We'll be questioning the holy cow of recycling as just one example of what happens when there's reliance on a superficial approach. Then, in film number 5, we'll be confronting the biggest problem of all, head on. You should be able to easily work out what this is, but many, astonishingly, overlook it, completely missing what ought to be obvious. Finally, in film number 6, and I'll be outdoors again for that one, at our own huge Komsberg Wilderness Nature Reserve in South Africa, we'll be covering what you can do that'll genuinely make a difference. We'll be detailed, practical, as well as big thinking in our approach. A quick word about ourselves and what we've done and do. We started the Oasis Nature Reserve in Sussex, England, over 40 years ago, in 1981. We then expanded by purchasing Oasis Woods, a piece of adjoining ancient woodland. For several years we worked in South Africa with an endangered tortoise, and in Australia with endangered wallabies, closely interacting with the relevant government agencies and farmers. In 1999, the founder of our work wrote What Will It Take? A Deeper Approach to Nature Conservation, which this short series of films is based on. We then established Komsberg Wilderness Nature Reserve in South Africa in early 2002, quickly doubling it in size to 30,700 acres or 17 miles across. We did everything necessary ourselves, including erecting 61 miles or 98 kilometres of high perimeter fencing to keep the wild animals inside safe, according to legal requirements. Over a dozen species were then successfully reintroduced. We recently made a film titled 20 plus years of Comsberg Wilderness Nature Reserve, Blood, Sweat and Tears. And there'll be a link for this in the description box below, so you can see a bit of what we've done and are still doing. It's important to stress that we do what we do, deliberately working as non-paid professionals. We don't waste money by paying ourselves. We long ago saw how other charities operate, and we didn't like it, and we still don't like it. They are ineffective and inefficient, so we've carved out a different way. To financially support ourselves individually, we have additional flexible paid jobs. Once you get used to doing things this way, it's not difficult, and you know it's the best, most ethical way possible. We're proud to be different. Our pioneering deeper approach is no nonsense, and it gets to the root of the problems. Right, let's get into the topic of this first film, human overpopulation. I was born 52 years ago, at the beginning of 1971. So, despite a few wrinkles, I'm not that old. The world population then was just over 3.5 billion people, already very high and increasing at a fast rate. Shockingly, we reached the 8 billion mark in November 2022. That's one hell of a lot of extra people. This surge in population growth has been exponential and is a relatively recent problem. For most of our past, the number of human beings was much smaller than it is nowadays, and therefore of no real concern. Providing even the basic necessities for billions and billions of humans has a massive impact on our planet. Food has to be produced, homes built, as well as schools, hospitals, roads, supermarkets, factories and so on. Raw materials and energy have to be sourced, all of which squeezes nature like never before. Then add on everyone's wants on top of the essential needs, and you begin to see the magnitude of the issue. Climate change is blamed mainly on the burning of fossil fuels, oil, gas and coal, which produce greenhouse gas emissions, blanketing the earth, trapping the sun's heat. But actually, it's the ginormous amount of these which causes the problem. And that's directly attributable to servicing the needs and wants of billions of people. If the human population was much smaller, all of the problems caused by billions and billions of us would be considerably less. You don't need to be a mathematical genius to work this out. It's just simple, very basic maths. The number of people on our planet matters. Meanwhile, large animals that are considered to be dangerous, like lions, tigers, leopards, elephants and rhinos, have become restricted to national parks and other nature reserves. Smaller wild species are now less common, or they've been officially classified as rare, vulnerable, threatened, endangered or critically endangered. And extinction isn't just a word. It happens. When something's gone, it's gone. Forever. Human activity now dominates almost everywhere, where once there was unspoilt wilderness. Those all-important natural habitats, which are the homes for every species with which we share this planet, have been altered, damaged, reduced, or completely destroyed. From the perspective of nature, we're not nice. In fact, we're a horrendous nightmare. 5,000 years ago, England was largely covered by trees. Humans coexisted within this wildwood environment, and any damage was minimal, because there weren't many of us back in those days. Then, as our numbers quickly started to increase, we cleared most of the trees, creating fields for more and more farming, plus towns and cities to live in. Later, we needed large industrial estates, road and rail networks, and so on. Today, If you go walking in the little pockets of remaining semi-natural woodland, you're more likely to come across smelly shit left behind by the hordes of irresponsible dog owners than to see deer or dormice. A lot has changed, and genuine wilderness has been lost. I want to quickly make crystal clear that we're not in any way anti-progress, nor are we amongst those who naively dream of a return to some romanticised past. Modern developments have brought enormous benefits, making life significantly better. A great platform for us to now move forwards responsibly. Population growth happens when there are more births and deaths. But we've also been living longer, made possible by improvements, including better housing, better sanitation and better nutrition. We have cleaner drinking water and modern medical care, leading to a decrease in mortality, especially of infants and young children. These developments are, of course, welcome, and life expectancy is likely to increase further as knowledge of human biology and medicine progresses. The problem is that we haven't been sufficiently controlling our numbers, collectively as a species, despite access to family planning. We're not usually fans of the United Nations organisations, having seen them up close and personal when we worked in countries like Ethiopia, Sudan, Nepal, Somalia, Uganda, Bangladesh, etc. They're wasteful in the extreme and self-serving, falling a long way short of their promised aims. But they're at least pretty good at one thing: predicting global human population growth. Back in 1999, when What Will It Take? A Deeper Approach to Nature Conservation, the book, was published, the UN were predicting we'd get to 8 billion people sometime in 2025. So they weren't too far off. To repeat, this figure was reached in November 2022, a few months ago. And they're currently estimating there'll be 11 billion people on planet Earth 75 years from now. That's just before the end of this century. It used to be the case that the richest 20% of the human population, those of us living in the most developed countries, consumed 80% of the world's natural resources. That's changed with globalisation and mass migration. We're now all responsible for what's going on. India and China each have a population of almost 1.5 billion people, for example, and they'll soon both exceed that symbolic figure. These are no longer poor countries. Unless you're someone living in a remote village in one of the few remaining least developed countries in the world, genuinely struggling with basic needs, such as finding clean drinking water, food to eat and firewood for cooking, then, as a typical consumer, you're accountable. There's no getting away from this. It's the no-nonsense reality. Thankfully, mass starvation has been overall averted because of significant improvements in agriculture. Yes, poor rainfall causes food shortages and sometimes famine, which we saw for ourselves during the 1984-1985 famine in Ethiopia. Even when some people do suffer from hunger, others elsewhere in the world become obese because they eat too much. So the me-first mentality and unfair distribution remain as unsolved problems. Not everyone sees human overpopulation as we do. Economists favour a growing population. They want to see more and more people for economic growth to continue. They throw in the argument that a lot of younger people are required to look after a large ageing population. Environmental concerns don't really figure much in their calculations. And these financial institutions strongly influence governments, which see green policies merely as an add-on to their main strategy. Ultimately, it's a matter of what you choose to focus on, what you choose to prioritise. In the 1960s and 70s, there'd commonly be discussions about overpopulation, too many people. But now, in recent decades, it's become a taboo subject that you just don't talk about. Amazingly, the spineless environmental organisations usually won't mention it at all. It's as if this massive problem doesn't exist. Again, the social conditioning of monkey do what monkey see isn't helping. The majority of individuals and organisations don't want to rock the boat. They want to fit in, unwilling to stand tall and be themselves. We've always found that there's no actual obstacle in talking to people about overpopulation, at least when we initiate a conversation. For example, British Asians and Catholics, who tend to have above average sized families, don't mind in the slightest. In our experience, the only difficult emotional response you get is from women who have unfortunately suffered a number of miscarriages, which, of course, is understandable. So it's essential that there's widespread public education and discussion about how many people. The current trend of a woke, virtue signalling, cancel culture minority, hell-bent on influencing society through intimidation, doesn't help. I'd be hated by some just for defining a woman as having a cervix, which is established biology. Many are now scared to speak out in a straightforward manner about anything. So, increasingly, they keep quiet. Honesty and free speech are the worrying casualties. Environmental organisations have, instead, cowardly and sneakily focused public attention on safer or more palatable issues such as recycling. Leaving aside the fact that recycling isn't as good an idea as has often been portrayed. And let's also ignore the fact that many people don't even do it. Any claimed benefit is quickly cancelled out, nullified, simply by the increasing number of people. Again, it's basic mathematics. Tokenism is just that, tokenism. And it's a minor distraction compared to a major problem like human overpopulation. We'll be looking at the distraction of tokenism in a bit more detail in another film. To be clear, we wouldn't in any way or form support enforced or coercive population control. The solution should instead first be better education, with this then boiling down to a matter of individual choice. You and I, as individuals, should responsibly think the matter carefully through on our own. Then it can be openly and honestly discussed between couples, families, friends, and throughout society. Practically, our advice on this subject is very simple. We think that 2 or less is the way forwards with regards to having children. Myself, in our family, we decided to be good examples of the less option. We've deliberately not had children. This hasn't in any way caused me to feel like a lesser woman. I'm living a full and worthwhile life. I haven't missed out, and there are no regrets whatsoever. Occasionally, there's going to be triplets or more, and twins after a first child has been born. That's fine. It will all balance out, overall. The main thing is for everyone to take responsibility for the global situation and to act accordingly. And yes, I fully appreciate that's a big ask, a matter we'll be looking at later on in this short series of films. It's not enough to just aim for replacement reproduction, because there's already far too many of us. The target has to be a steady decline in global population size until an optimal level has been reached. Then we can think about stability. This would be a win-win situation. Nature would massively benefit, of course, no longer under threat from the hordes of greedy humans everywhere. But we would also tremendously benefit. Overcrowding would become a thing of the past. There'd be no housing crisis, no waiting for hospital appointments, and no traffic jams. This crucial topic has been irresponsibly avoided for far too long. Really, it should have been properly addressed well before the turn of the last century. The facts were known, with a discussion underway, and the damage was evident for all to see. Obviously, that opportunity to act was lost. Now the need for a deeper approach is even more imperative. We must move away from self-obsession, such as thinking it's my right to have children, instead focusing attention on human responsibility, thinking of the whole rather than just me and mine. Before finishing, I want to stress that I'm not a naive optimist, merely dreaming a dream. This can and will really happen. Not next year, nor in the decade after, but at some point in the future. It can't magically happen overnight anyway. And beforehand, a fundamental change in mindset will be required. We'll need to start growing up, moving towards the beginning of a mature psychology, rather than the predominant immature attitude and approach of today's culture. But I'm in danger of getting ahead of myself here, so I won't say anything more for now. As you might remember, I'm out of the studio for the next film. I look forward to seeing you again soon.